Welcome, sentient beings from all known universes and beyond. It's time to activate your cranial downlinks and prepare to receive a raft of discussion on a cosmic ocean of science fiction and fantasy topics, interviews with local area genre devotees, and insightful prognostication by our soothsayers of science fiction, our forecasters of fantasy, and any other beings that happen to get caught in our gravity well. This is the Galactic Driftwood Podcast.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Galactic Driftwood Podcast. I'm Bill.
I'm Linda.
Hey, I'm Seth.
I'm Jenna.
And I'm Chris.
And on today's show, we're going to be talking about the Book of Boba Fett, which just recently wound up. And we're going to have our impressions of what we thought of the season. But before we start on that, I thought I would introduce my latest droid acquisition. My B1 battle droid here. I had a smuggler friend of mine bring him in from Batu. And so he doesn't move like my other droids, but he does talk.
Ready for battle.
Oh, God.
All right, I'll check on it. I could get used to it here. What do I look like, an astromech?
So I feel like the worst is going to be when both of you wake up in the middle of the night and it's in your doorway and it's like ready for battle.
Yes.
For a brief second there, I thought he was gonna say, "What am I, an asshole? What do I look like, an asshole?"
Yeah.
Not me.
Who's in charge? Not me. Yeah.
So, Bill,
So
what's your
anyway,
name?
he's pretty good size. I mean,
No, what's his name?
oh well, I haven't named him yet. He's just B1 battle droid.
You aren't naming them?
I mean, I have my astromechs named, but I haven't named this guy yet. I could just call
You
him
can't name them,
B1.
then he gets too attached when he does his
He's already
mad
too
science
attached, Linda would say.
All right. Well, then I guess it's on us to come up with a name.
Yeah, what should he be called?
Bill's
Bill
death.
Jr.
Bill Jr. Nice. Huh.
Death to Bill.
Death to Bill. Wow. Linda's
How do you
asking
really
us
feel
rather
about your new
quickly.
additions to the family? See,
Yeah.
the thing is, like, I'm sure it wouldn't be that big of a deal if they actually did housework for Linda.
Right. Well,
Like, you need droids that walk your dogs or do
So
the
all I'm
dishes.
hearing is Bill needs to keep buying droids until he finds the right one.
Right. Chris, brilliant.
See, I just had a mental image of one of those little astromech droids of his attempting to walk his dogs, and them just doing the thing as they're like rocketing along.
Well, actually, hang on. I'm going to show one thing here.
Oh.
Let me put this guy down.
Oh, here we go again.
Oh,
Now, this is going to be good.
this is going to be good. Sure.
This is good radio right here.
This is-
Watching Bill play with his toys.
All right. May have to hold this guy up. All right. So I'm going to share my screen because I found this new app.
Oh, God.
And let me find it. Hold on. I should have been ready with this, but I wasn't planning on showing this. But it's actually so cool.
Of course.
You
that-
can't resist.
Yeah, I can't resist. So let me share this screen.
It is topic relevant for today.
It is topic relevant. All right,
Oh,
there you
wow.
go. So, what the deal is here is this is a app that's unfortunately it's only on Windows, but pretty much everybody has Windows PCs, or most people do. So you can get it. They have a free version, and then they have a paid version. The paid version is $5.99, and I figure, if you can afford the trip to Disneyland to get a droid that this app works for, you can probably afford the $5.99 to buy the app.
Okay. Yeah.
So now the cool thing about this is you can select a profile. And for me right now, I have to use the keyboard profile. But if I'm clicking on the wrong window, but if you have any one of these controllers, is that showing up on the screen?
No.
No.
Oh, Well, that's weird.
Probably because it's just showing that one window. So if it's popping up a new window, it doesn't have permission.
No, it's within the same window. It's just dropping down that keyboard. So anyway,
Oh, yeah.
if you click on that keyboard link, you have a couple of options for controllers, like a DualShock PS4 controller or a 8-bit NES 30 Pro controller. Anyway, if you have the controllers, you can then use it as a voice controller for your droid. So you can give your droid voice commands. And
no.
Uh-oh.
you can have it, yeah,
This
you
is
can
how
have
it
it
starts.
move, respond to you,
This
whatever.
is how we get taken over by droids.
Right.
Because
this
they're
is
just
how-
so cute, you can't resist.
Right. And
Yeah,
then
that's
you can go in here and you can pick what personality chip the droid has. And then based on the personality chip, there's these different groups. And those groups kind of correspond, I think, loosely to the areas in Galaxy's Edge when you go there. So, like if you go to, for example, Droid Depot, and you're there for a while, it'll randomly play sounds from group 1 if you have the orange personality chip, for example. And it'll be, let's say that I can't remember for sure, but let's say the orange chip is for the resistance, right? And if you're in Droid Depot, well, pretty much for any droid, it'll probably make happy sounds. But if you were, let's say you're over here in group 6 or 7, which might be the first order area, then the first order area would play sounds from group 6 or 7, and your resistance droid would make kind of sad, nervous sounds. But when you've got this app and it's hooked into your droid, you can, if I go back to this main screen here, you see group 1 is F1, group 2 is F2. So if you hit F1 on the keyboard, then the
It'll make a
droid
sound.
will make the first sound from group 1. If you hit it again, the second sound, it just cycles all the way through. So you can play, so you could actually have sort of an interactive conversation with your droid if you were pressing your function keys to make it look like the droid was responding to you. And I would demo that live, but when I was using it last night, I had an instance where I thought, you know what? I was on this screen here with the keyboard and I thought, oh, I want to see what a cost is for one of these other controllers. So I did the drop down, selected the other controller, and my mouse went away.
Oh,
And that's not a good thing in Windows when you don't have a touch screen.
No, it's not.
Needless to say, that was a reboot. So I don't really want to risk getting into it today and doing something that throws off our
Little buggy.
StreamYard recording or knocks my mic out or whatever. So, but other than that, if you had the controller and you used it, you'd be fine. But with the keyboard alone, it worked great. You could do the sounds. And then if you go here, the Keep Alive section, so you can pick your theme park locations. I have Droid Depot selected now. And unfortunately, if I click the drop down, it doesn't show you guys anything, but it shows all the different other areas in the app here that I can pick. And then, or you can just pick personality chip, and then you can start the simulation, and your laptop will then broadcast out the codes to make your droid think it's in that area. And
Are
then
you sure this wasn't a trap for you, Bill?
It might have
this app
been.
is not
It
like
might
some
have been.
backdoor spyware that you just submitted because you're like, I want to do cool things with my droids.
It's
I mean,
very possible.
As he says that though, like I have a robot. I have one of those vector robots. It's a little AI driven cube. Let me grab it here. I actually have it.
All right. Yeah, and here's the voice screen.
So
And
things
you
that
can-
should worry you is, I don't know if you guys can see this.
Oh yeah. Yeah. that's
Okay.
cool.
So it's a little
Oh, that guy.
robot that's got a personality and all this kind of stuff. It has a toy that he plays with, and it can tell me the weather, and it's got a camera, and it can drive around and everything. I usually keep it covered up and like turned off or whatever because it's kind of creepy, the fact that it can learn your name and you can talk to it. So if you have it on your desk, you can tell it to move things or pick up things, and it's pretty cool what they have baked into it. This was a gift I got a couple of years ago, but
Show it back up there again,
ultimately
Chris. There you go.
oh yeah. He's
I'll
got
put it
wheels.
awake.
That's cool.
So I've got to get it I let it die on me, so I've got to get it reconnected to power and everything like that. But it has eyes, it has emotions, it winks at you and all this crazy stuff.
Jenna, your face is
it's,
perfect.
Can you just
Emotions.
get it to follow your cats?
So I do think it's pretty cool. What I probably could. I haven't. Oh, there it goes. It's awake now.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
I like the
So it
blinky
sees-
eye.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can
Yeah.
see things and it'll react to things like
Oh, look, it's
fingers and
following
stuff. So
you.
it's actively seeing things and will move around and do things accordingly. So it's pretty cool in that regard.
Until
So
it wakes up on your bedside table next to you.
Oh, he's doing
let me put him down. He's a little bit
something.
agitated.
Oh,
I'm holding him.
He doesn't
So you
like
can see
being
he's
on
throwing a
camera
fit.
first thing in the morning.
Yeah, so he's throwing a fit. There's like an actual like kind of brain in
Oh my
there. And
Nice.
yeah,
yeah,
let me
that's not creepy at all.
put him down before he gets mad.
How much was something like that?
It's expensive, a couple hundred maybe.
Yeah.
But it's because of everything that I gotta put him somewhere because he's freaking out.
Easy there, boy. Easy.
Go to
easy.
sleep. There we go. Nope,
It takes
go
a
to sleep.
hammer.
Go to sleep.
I was just gonna take one of his pencils and like
Jab at Leon.
So, but yeah, I really like. It's cool when you can do a bunch of the stuff with the controls. So what I'd be interested in, Bill, is if they change that from like a Windows app to I don't know, some kind of
Android or
mobile
something.
app or something like that you can control it with. Would be pretty
Right.
sweet. But I do always like seeing people take advantage of the hardware that's there and then adding on to it and making it do a bunch of cool things. So that
Yeah.
is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool that it had the voice thing here. Let me do. There we go. Now we can see us all. Yeah. So in this voice section here, you can actually figure out tell it what you want the voice activation command to be. So
Huh.
you could change that for a particular droid and then what language. And I guess you can get it to move forward and walk around too, but you can, otherwise it's locked so it doesn't drive off the table. If it was like the Google voice activation thing, it would probably misunderstand my command to make a sound and it would start driving off the table.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a pretty cool little app. I found out about it last week and then finally decided to download it and play with it a little bit yesterday. So pretty excited to try it
This
some more.
is why you're in the basement all the time.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, in order
He's
to do
working
the
out.
in order to test the voice activation feature, though, you have to have a controller. So I may look at doing that. But anyway,
Sounds cool.
yeah. So
that is really
Book
cool.
of Boba. So everybody's seen it.
Bet.
Fett. And Seth, are you caught up? Did you see the end of it?
No, I haven't watched it all.
All right.
Spoiler
Chris,
alert,
you've
then.
seen it all.
Yep.
All right. Jenna, have you seen it all? Or
No.
No.
I just got done watching I'm most of the way through the episode where they bring back Din.
Okay. All right. So you've seen scenes with Grogu.
I haven't seen the Grogu scenes yet.
Oh, all right. All right.
I just saw when he got kicked out of he's just getting his new spaceship. He just got his new spaceship.
Oh, okay. All right.
The Naboo starfighter.
Right.
That was a nice throwback to episode 1. If nobody had watched it, that was a pretty prominent ship in there.
It has
like
been a
Anakin.
while since I've seen episode 1. Didn't they, when they came to the planet, didn't someone have a Naboo starfighter? Or
and a Naboo starfighter is what ultimately Anakin takes off into space with when he's fighting the big.
Well, yeah, but I meant, didn't they
spaceship,
bring one
but-
along when they visited Tatooine?
When they visited Tatooine, that's a good question because I think they only showed up in that silver.
Yeah, that big silver ship.
Yeah, that big silver ship.
I
So
thought that would have, I couldn't remember if they'd sold that ship or something. Either way, it was a fun throwback.
yeah, it was a good throwback. I saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, that's the same one from episode 1, which was kind of cool. So, and so you haven't seen what they retrofitted out to be when it's done?
Not yet, no.
It's
Okay.
pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love the little Grogu dome.
yeah. There's because where they normally stick the droids in the back of those ships, she rips out all the droid components in there, so it's just this empty seat
Bubble.
with a dome on it, with a bubble on it. And it just so happens later on they stick Grogu in there. So
Yeah, and the hilarious thing is as a Mandalorian's driving the ship through space, Grogu's sitting there pounding on the dome, and he goes, "Settle down back there." No, I'm not doing it. Settle down. And he just won't leave him alone. Finally, he's like, "Fine, just this once." And then he hits the jump to hyperspace.
yeah, it's got like this turbo button. So
Yeah,
when they're
right.
all done with building the ship, it's got some like supersonic speed to it, like faster than most things. So at any point, if he just wants to run from the authorities, he just punches it, and then poof, that thing takes off like a bat out of hell.
Yeah, it almost looks like jumping to light.
Yeah, almost looks like
Nice.
jumping to light speed, so it's pretty hilarious. But
And
yeah,
Grogu's
Grogu's
just-
like, push the button, let's do this.
Yeah,
Again.
screaming with joy
Yeah.
at the speed thing.
So I mean, something like during this episode, and like I've had this thought about the Jedi Council before, but what is it about these special orders in Star Wars where they have this one stupid rule that just seems to ruin it for most everyone? The Jedi can't have any attachments. How does that
Yeah, that
even work at all?
it's proven not to work, and you'd think over time they would change it, but at the same time, they're just so hell bent on, this is the way. And like at some
Well-
point they need to give it up. And Luke unfortunately has an opportunity to change that path going
Yeah.
forward for a Jedi, and doesn't do it and sticks to the old ways. And we all see how that plays out in the rest of the Star Wars movies. So
yeah, he doesn't
didn't
need to
come-
stick with that. He could have just
Yeah.
been like, no, his attachments are cool. Just don't be a dark side asshole.
yeah.
Well, we've seen what the whole lack of attachment thing does to like priests in the Catholic Church. So
Oh,
So are you
We
saying
don't
that
want-
Grogu
Wow.
might have dodged the bullet?
too soon, Bill. Too
so.
soon.
Oh my god.
Bill's
Well-
like, we're gonna take an awkward left turn right now.
Holy shit.
Oh, we don't want stories of Jedis abusing younglings to be coming out.
Okay,
No,
stop that.
but so my thought on that is, I do get not letting your emotions drive you, because if you let them drive you in the positive way, you can see how the thought would be it'll drive you the other way once you lose the good. Like it
Well, that's
balances
kind of what
out.
happened with Anakin, right?
Yeah.
Well,
But he was
it's
so
not,
afraid of losing his spouse,
Right.
and then he did, like his fear drove action that was not logical.
Right.
but yeah, they already have a saying for that though, and that's fear leads to anger, anger leads to
Yeah, exactly.
The hate
like they had a
leads to
saying for that,
suffering.
It's the dark
Yeah.
side.
but
Hate
like
leads to the
having
dark
a
side.
spouse doesn't seem like a great or not having any attachments isn't great.
It's
for-
not. I would put it in. It's a lack of empathy and having an understanding of not every being or species can move forward in life in solidarity. Like they some need attachments, some need
Yeah.
purpose, some need reason, and some of them may be, you're going to be good or you're bad, and it's what you do with it that ultimately matters when if you're as a Jedi or a
Right.
Sith for that matter. But I feel like Luke's approach is just completely disconnected from the fact that the reality is there is a whole world out there, a whole universe,
Several worlds.
several
Yeah,
worlds.
well, like I think maybe the whole no attachments thing might work if the Jedi were an actual, just like a monastic order where they stuck in their temple and didn't go out and do things, or weren't expected to come and save the galaxy on a weekly basis.
Mhm.
But since they're very much a part of the galaxy,
Right.
the whole no attachments thing doesn't seem like it would work out too well.
Right.
And
well,
it
I
hasn't.
mean,
It's
they're
never
sent on
really worked out.
diplomatic missions, so they're going to be interacting with all different species and peoples. And you got to expect that there's going to be some sort of attractions develop from something like that over time. So, I think they need to be a little bit more flexible. I agree.
And
Go ahead.
oh, and I was gonna no, you make your point first because I was gonna move it over to the Mandalorians.
and it's like obviously they have friendships, they have solidarity between people, so it's not completely no attachment. I really do think it has more to do with dedication to the cause, to try and keep whatever that cause is, which is they're supposed to help everybody. You have to take care of the whole, never the one. And I
Yeah.
think that's what they're trying to attempt to do with that, is that you will never sacrifice many for one.
Right.
You have your attachments, you have your friendships, but ultimately you try and do the most good possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now,
I'm not saying
mean-
that's right, but I think that's what they were hoping to achieve, is a group of people who would never, who would always try to sacrifice their personal interests, no matter what the cost, for the good.
right. Now, so I've got a question here, and I think I'll start with Chris, because Jenna and Seth won't have seen this part, but I do want both of them to weigh in, especially Jenna, because I think as a soon-to-be new mom, you might have an interesting perspective on this. So, in in that episode that Seth's in, he hasn't gotten far enough yet, but Grogu obviously is in training with Luke Skywalker, learning how to become a Jedi. Now, developmentally, he appears to be the same as he was the last time we saw him at the end of The Mandalorian, when he left to go be with Luke, to go be trained. So I don't know, how long has he been with Luke? What, 6 months, maybe less? Chris,
It's just like
any
a
idea?
week. in
Yeah,
that
well,
species.
actually, we do see that he has grown a bit in his
Okay.
training with Luke.
Yeah.
So even though it's the timing is kind of awkward because you can't really place how much time has passed.
Right.
I'm sure it's written down somewhere that like it's been X amount of months or whatever, but that's not really called out.
Yeah.
But we do see Grogu has advanced. Because in the
he's gotten
combat
more
training,
skills.
yeah, he's gotten more
Physically-
skills. He's
yeah,
had to learn how to
physically,
jump around. Yeah.
He still appears as the child.
Yes.
He seems very childlike, but his force abilities have certainly
Yes, has
improved.
grown substantially, if anything.
Yes.
And it shows to some extent during some of the flashbacks of where he kind of started, and Luke brings out this the same tester that Obi-Wan gave him. It's this little sphere that floats up and shoots little lasers at you. And in the first Star Wars, Obi-Wan gives Luke this helmet to blind him, and he's got to kind of sense and dodge the laser beam. So there's a scene where, he's giving Grogu the same test without even the blinders on, and Grogu just gets boom blasted right off the bat, and he's like, got to be quicker than that. You got to feel this thing out. You get the sense it's going to be a long road for Grogu, right? He's going to get his ass kicked by this thing. But then later on, whether that's that episode or I think it was within the same episode.
Yeah.
You see it kind of flashes forward, and you see that Grogu has the ability now to dodge it, and he's jumping over rocks on a river or whatever, and there's a pretty epic running around, and then he destroys the thing with his force. And so he's grown substantially in his power. He reaches out his hand and he crushes it. And so that was pretty cool. But then Luke, and I don't know if this is where you're going with it, sits Grogu down and makes him make a choice.
Yes, this is exactly where I'm going with this.
So he's clearly grown and he's been able to focus, and what ends up happening is Mando shows up and drops off a gift. He decides not to see Grogu in person, leaves a gift.
He gets talked out of it.
Yeah, he gets talked out of it because
they tell him they don't want to disturb his training. Yeah, Ahsoka Tano.
Yeah, Ahsoka Tano is
talks to him and says, "No, you shouldn't go there because he's in training. You don't want to interrupt him at this point." All this kind of stuff.
Yep. So she's also on the same page as that nonsense, but she also gets it. She gets where Mando's coming from, but she says, "Is this for you or is this for him?"
Right.
If this is for you, then do what you want. But if it's for him, you should just leave. So he leaves a little gift, which is this chainmail armor for Grogu, which is pretty sweet. But Luke eventually sits him down and says, "Look, you have two paths in front of you. You can't have attachments to anyone, but if you really need to go see the Mando, you can take this gift and get the fuck out of here." Right?
Right.
And then the other choice was, here, you can go see, you can have Master Yoda's lightsaber, okay, and you can continue your training, and we'll forget all about this other gift. And the whole time I'm thinking, why does it have to be a choice?
Right.
Why does it
Yeah.
have one
Just give him
path
the
or the
gift.
other?
Right. And the question I was going to ask is, the Grogu child, is he old enough to be able to make that
Make that
choice at
decision,
his
right.
age?
Yeah.
Because he seemed not to really understand much of what the whole Jedi thing was, even though he's been
Mhm.
maybe with Luke for, I don't know, maybe up to 6 months.
Yeah.
But he didn't seem to grasp it. And I think even during that episode, Luke had to try to get his attention back to focus on what he was saying, what he
Mhm.
was trying to explain to him.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you've got a child, and you know, Seth and Jen, I'll have you guys weigh in there, but if you've got a child, and I don't know, at Grogu's age, what age he would be like as a human child, maybe what, 4, 5, I don't know. But at that age, would you be able to give a child of that age a choice like that he doesn't fully understand? And Seth is just biting his tongue here because he seems to want to jump in. But Chris, what did you think? Did you?
I think Luke is being the same kind of cold-hearted Jedi Master that he's grown into. The same cold-hearted kind of Jedi Master that he was in the last
one?
trilogy
Return of
that
the
they
Jedi?
released,
Yeah.
where he is kind of disconnected and he's just
Oh.
here to kind of preserve what's left of the Jedi Masters and
What-
their way of doing things. And it's disappointing because Luke was one of the few that grew up in a different type of personal experience and had those attachments growing up. And
Right.
frankly, he came out okay.
It-
And for him to go back and just lock all that down and almost like have this, he doesn't want anyone else to go through what he went through, but that shouldn't be a thing. So
Except that wasn't his Jedi training, though. Like, consider who trained him.
yeah,
You had Obi-Wan, the crazy old hermit who lived out in Tatooine, devoid of all attachments, not even talking to Luke, the person he was supposedly there to protect,
yeah,
until it was absolutely necessary. And then Yoda, the crazy old hermit who was kind of an asshole and did the same kind of no attachment bullshit thing to him when he had the vision of his friends. Like, for
Yeah.
Luke, like, the path to that is kind of clear. It's like, oh, well, I had a bad vision of my friends and then I went to save them, and that ended up bad, except it really didn't, because it would have been worse if he wouldn't have showed up, and he should have realized that.
Right.
But I
Right.
mean, his masters were the last two Jedi masters that we knew about,
Mhm.
and they were both kind of the same crotchety old curmudgeon.
Geezers. Yeah.
And I
Right.
mean,
But still, I mean, so, you know, Luke, I can see, didn't really feel like when he was with Yoda that he was really given that choice, right? He decided on his own that he was going to leave and go try to save Han and Leia.
but then he came
And-
back.
And he came back, and
Yes.
maybe Grogu will too. But he gives Grogu the choice, which, you know, kudos for Luke giving him the choice. But I think the problem is that Grogu was too young to understand what the real choices were, and that given a choice, he's going to go back to the only father figure he's known for a long time. And I don't know, Jenna, if you want to weigh in on this, what you think of as far as giving a child that young such a important life choice. I mean, I could see a child maybe at 10 or 12, but even
But
then,
you
I
have to
think-
think about to the very first to episode 1, and I'm pretty sure the comment was made that there's a certain age you don't take them in. Like
Right.
the young Anakin,
Yeah, Anakin
He's
was already
technically-
too old.
he was
Right.
too old. He already
Yeah.
had the attachments. And if we're thinking we don't know for his species exactly how old he is, I would say he's probably in the same age range as Anakin for his species. He is technically too old. And he's already developed his emotional attachments and he can't leave them behind.
Right.
So he might seem too young to us outside of that universe, but in that universe, I feel like there would have been Jedi who argued he never should have been taken in the first place. And here's what we don't know: his past, or at least I haven't watched the series, so I don't know. Maybe he was taken in at the right age as a baby. He was developed. The massacre occurs, and he ends up hibernating status out in the middle of nowhere, blah, blah. And Din is his first exposure to a family environment. And unfortunately, that Jedi process is corrupted. Or it's interrupted too much to the point that there is no bringing Grogu back because he's now has attachments.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I think that, if you're given two options with a stranger you don't know
Right.
Right.
versus someone who's saved your ass several times, I mean,
Right. Who are you gonna pick?
Yeah, I would add
Yeah.
that on the age thing, when we go back and we look at everything that we've seen from Star Wars so far, the age thing has been repetitive, but we end up having this problem where the Jedi also need to recognize they're not flourishing. There's not an abundance of them anymore at this point. They can't be, beggars can't be choosers here.
Right.
And ultimately, like, for Luke, if this is what he's got, if he's going to build a temple and he needs to grow it and he needs members, he can't be applying the same rules as if there's Jedi all over the place, or the Force is awakening amongst all these
Right.
people that he's going to have enrolling. Now we get the idea that eventually his school grew to have a few people, a few young children as a part of it in the future, but still that wasn't a lot. It
No.
was what, 10, 12,
Yeah,
not
maybe.
more than 20,
Yeah.
maybe.
Right.
And so when you're doing that, I don't understand what's the problem is. Like, sure, this person might not become a future Jedi Master, but this person, if you needed it, can be an aid on the Force. Would you rather have them not know how to control that power or get into
Right.
trouble later? Or would you rather have them be a potential ally in the future? They don't
Right.
all need to be Jedi Masters.
Also, Grogu's going to be around for maybe 900 years. That's some good continuation for your school
Yeah.
if you're looking
Right.
to set it up.
You would think you would make the best of that.
And it's not like the Jedi Council hasn't violated their own rules whenever they felt like it.
Right.
Sometimes good, sometimes bad, but
And it's not like that Yoda species is prevalent in the galaxy. I think the only two we've ever seen is Yoda and Grogu.
Right.
Yep. Well, no, there
Yeah.
was a third on the Jedi
Yeah.
Council back in the original
Oh.
series before Order 66.
yeah.
Mm,
So it was a female Yoda.
okay.
What I was laughing about is like the effective choice presented to this what equivalent of maybe a 6-year-old.
Yeah,
Right.
maybe. To me, he doesn't even seem like he's that old. I would say like 5, maybe 4. I mean,
No,
developmentally
I'd say-
equivalent to a human. He's supposed to be 50 years old for the Yoda species, according to the season 1, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
But what I was like, so Jenna, what would you think if I just came and like offered your kid at 6 years old a lightsaber? Like a full-sized katana that they could somehow wield around, like just like however. Does that sound like a good idea?
I think you and I both know that since it's my child, you don't want to take that risk for your own personal safety.
I would definitely be like, kind of like Luke here and like give him the sword and then not my responsibility.
Well, or would you give him the sword and say, okay, child of Jenna, you may have this katana and come and train with me to be a samurai death dealer, or you can choose to wear this chainmail armor and stay with your mom.
I mean,
So,
given that it's a child of Jenna, they'd probably windmill slam samurai death dealer.
I mean, considering in the last ultrasound, she got tired of the technician like going down on the like trying to get her to move her hand, and finally like started punching back at the same rate at the technician through my womb, and we saw it all in video.
Oh my god, that's funny.
Is she going to be a puncher?
Yeah, she's got a good jab.
Nice.
Yeah, the girl.
Yeah.
I don't think that would bode well for anyone. But I mean,
I just don't think that giving a laser sword to a 6-year-old would go well.
No.
But I don't think it's a 6-year-old technically. I mean, I'd still say he's probably closer to 9 or 10 as a human.
An adolescent.
Yeah, like I think he's older than we realize, and he plays the cute card because he is clever.
Could be, but I mean,
there are things you have to do when a skill is demonstrated. Like, and I hate to say this because there's all these ethics you have around what it's like. So let's say Mozart, or just a child who picks up a guitar and can just play the guitar. Like one of my coworkers teaches gymnastics, and a kid walked in there, and on day one, like had never done gymnastics before, but he was already like 3 months ahead of kids who'd been doing it for a while. Like he just took off.
Mm-hmm.
So do you give the kid the choice to keep doing it or not with the child's lack of discipline? Or do you take away the choice because there is greatness there that needs to be developed? And then in the case of a forced child, if they're not developed, but he keeps doing stuff with the force and he's not guided, could
More
do
harm than
terrible
good, potentially.
things.
Yeah, the situation matters here, and ultimately, in those cases, some of those people that have reached peak athleticism and things like that, their childhoods weren't great. They were kind of boring. They were always busy, and it was just to push them into that area of greatness, if you will.
Yeah.
Because it was like, well, they had this talent at a young age, and if you harness it correctly, I don't know if there is a correct way, but if you harness that and get them through that training, they can reach that peak performance where they can do extraordinary things that most people can't. But I don't know if that's the case here. I don't know if this is simply just molding another Jedi, and this is just following this playbook, if you will, that Luke has for how a Jedi should be molded and raised. And I just think it should be train the Jedi. And if he's got to leave for a while and take care of some personal stuff, okay, come back when you're ready and we'll continue your training. In the meantime, Luke's got a temple to build. So
it's not, stay or forever be gone.
Yeah, and that's what I feel like Luke was giving in an ultimatum, and that's what I don't agree with. I think that was the wrong move.
Like, let him come back. Luke came back.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Luke gave a second chance to his dad, who was Space Hitler.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, I agree. They, especially with Grogu, well, there's Ahsoka Tano, sorry, Luke, Grogu. How many other Jedis do we know of at this point that are still out there?
Just Luke and Ahsoka, I think.
Yeah, that we're aware of.
That we're canonically aware of.
Yeah, which is again why Luke would turn something down.
I think there might be a couple from Star Wars Rebels who might still be alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, but from our perspective, if you're just watching the series of the films, you're not really aware of any additional ones. I mean, we know that we can assume that they're out there, but we don't really know what that looks like in terms of who and what their powers are. Are they
How
eventually
many?
going to be Jedi?
Sure.
Yeah.
I kind of feel for Luke. I mean, you all are coming down hard on him. Can you imagine what it is, the burden that,
Yeah.
as far as you know, you're the last one.
Right.
You've had very
More
little
you.
guidance, and you're just trying to make sure you do the right thing based off
And
of
that's
what
where
tidbits you can find.
we come down on him
Yeah.
though, because he puts himself in a position to where he's willing to let someone go because of his lack of flexibility. If you're
That's
in that
true.
position where you're like, I'm potentially the last Jedi that I'm aware of,
Right.
and you're going to come down and give an ultimatum to someone who's relatively young, and say,
That has
look, go pick
huge
your friends,
potential.
or or I mean, the conversation could have been, if you're not ready yet, come back to me when you are.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that wasn't the conversation. It was option A, option B, red pill, blue
Here's the
pill.
card.
Yeah.
Give me a call when you're ready to take you're ready to do this. Doesn't matter if that's in 100 years. You're gonna be like a teenager by then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I was way older when I started.
I would be totally be a total dick to Luke here and just say he keeps effing up these decisions on a pretty grand scale, and I consistently think he's made some of the wrong choices. So I love Luke, don't get me wrong,
Right.
but he's got character flaws. He's not infallible. So it is what it is. And Luke made the choices he did, and Grogu made the choices that Grogu did. So it is what
Right.
it is at the end of the day.
However, the nice thing is, as long lived as Grogu is, all he has to do is wait for Luke to die and then decide to go back to show up at the training class and say, well, I had some of the training a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you think about it,
mean,
this is a seemingly character flaw in the family, period. They're very stubborn. We saw it in Anakin.
Uncle
Leia's
Owen.
the same way.
Uncle Owen was pretty stubborn.
Yeah, like they are all my way or the highway.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
or kill all the sand people.
yeah,
Yes,
basically.
or kill all the same people. Yes.
So I just
So
it's not great, unfortunately, that they're not willing to flex all, and that's kind of the same principle that brought the Jedis to their knees too. They weren't willing to flex.
Right.
yeah.
Everything was black and white.
So in the Star Wars Legends, the books that used to be canon before Disney took over, Luke screwed up a few times too, but he was also a lot more flexible. Like he in a couple cases he took on some students who then left and then came back and ended up very strong members of the Jedi Council that he put together. But he also made a couple mistakes and almost got it torn apart a few times. So I mean,
that's trial and error. That's just just life to me. So, but Luke trying to control it the way he
Luke is, and I think should be very much presented as somebody who's kind of making things up on the fly.
Yeah.
And occasionally fucking them up really bad. And
yeah,
I still don't
to that point, it would have gone a long way if they had another scene there where Luke is talking candidly with oh my god, Osaka.
Yeah.
Osaka. God. This is why I just don't say the name, because I can't.
It's not very hard.
Tano.
It is when you're trying to remember a bunch of different worlds for watching a lot of different things.
Right.
So there should have been a candid conversation where he's asking her, did I do the right thing?
Right.
What do you think?
I
don't
she's
know
way
if I'm
more
making the right
experienced
choice.
than him.
Yeah. And so there should be that kind of choice there where they're having that conversation, almost like when she had that conversation with Mando and tried to explain it and give him a different perspective. But you don't get that with Luke. So Luke just kind of looks like the bad guy here. And I think there's opportunity to save him in that character flaw by having him have those candid conversations with others, saying like, I don't know what I'm doing. you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I could see Ashoka Tano.
God damn it, that's going to be the name of this episode.
It's Ashoka, damn it.
Yeah, I could see her going to Luke after Grogu takes off in the X-wing, and saying, "What were you thinking? I already told Mando to leave him the hell alone so we could train him, and here you let him go."
I went to all that trouble of telling them about that weird temple that summoned you in the first place.
Right.
You had to kill a bunch of doomsday droids just to get him and then walk out. He's been here for 6 months, pooping in the corner. All right, so here's something interesting. Think of all the stories that Ashoka has been telling Luke about his dad.
Ooh.
Have you guys seen any of the well, Bill and Linda wouldn't have seen
No,
any
it's
of
cartoons.
No, but here's the
Attack of
thing.
the
Do
Clones
you think
stuff.
she'd really
haven't.
tell a lot of stories, or would she just kind of keep that to herself, not trying to color?
Given what I've seen of the character of Ashoka through the animated series, she would 100% dish dirt on her old master.
Well, that would be funny to hear.
So I think one of the quotes, if I'm remembering it right, is Anakin saying, "What have I taught you about obeying the Jedi Council?" And she's like, "You taught me how not to."
Yeah, so if that's the case and that was kind of her upbringing, you would think that she would be a little bit more rebellious in nature.
Oh, she left the Jedi Council.
Yeah.
She flat out left before.
Yeah,
Order.
so if that's her history, right? And here she is on the same planet with Luke, and they're going through the training, and she seems to be adhering to that still Jedi Council way of doing things. I'm surprised she wouldn't be like, "Here, let me sneak you in, Mando. We'll sneak in at night, and you can give him the gift or whatever, and then I'll sneak you out," kind of thing.
I think she's grown up a lot from that kid that she was in the shows, because she was in Rebels as well, where she comes in and she kicks Darth Vader in the teeth.
But here's the thing you have to ask. Was she aware of Padme and Anakin's life at that time? Because if she wasn't,
so fun fact,
all of them came together, you could see how maybe she'd be like, maybe there was some rules we should have followed.
Fun fact, everybody. We started this show talking about Boba Fett.
Right. And boy, did that go
and
off.
what has happened is not on us. This is literally the pivoting point of
the entire
series of the entire season, where we have now shifted and we're back in the Mandalorian series, and this is about Grogu.
I'm sorry, but we haven't talked about Boba Fett any. We've only been talking about
because the starting point of where you guys talked about,
and Jedi.
To be clear, if you haven't, when you get through the rest of this is what it's about. It is not about Boba Fett.
No.
Mm-mm.
And so when I talked about this before, everything we're talking about, this is what the final episodes are about. There's nothing to do with Boba Fett.
Oh,
and you know, I was thinking about that, and I thought, I wonder if the way the Mandalorian ended with Grogu going off with Luke to go and do his training, if Disney thought, what are we doing? We've got a gold mine here with the child, with Grogu and all of these, dolls and action figures and all of this kind of stuff. And,
show us your Grogu,
it is
Bill.
wildly popular. Why did we send this character off? All right, we're going to start this Book of Boba Fett, and it goes long, and it's all about Boba Fett until you get to the last two episodes, which to me made me think about that time is when probably the message came down. All right, you got to retool this show. We got to find a way to bring this Grogu back in. I don't care what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
rewrite it.
Like
And-
literally in the episode you're talking about, I'm not even sure we see Boba. Period.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
So and so when we started talking about this and going down that road, what we're talking about is where our mindsets are watching the rest of Boba Fett. We've completely deviated from the story of what its history is and how he's gonna figure out how to deal with the syndicate and everything like that until you get to the very end when the final battle finally starts to break out. And that's the only time they somehow bring everything together to make it work. And that part was disappointing because it Boba took a back seat in his own show.
Sure.
Right.
And I hate to say it, but like, I think you're gonna have to rename this episode, Seth. Our Disney wins.
Yeah.
Or Grogu wins.
Grogu wins.
Because
it was always about Grogu.
Yeah.
It's all about Grogu.
The Book of Grogu.
Yeah. Call it the Book of Grogu.
That's why everyone tuned into. So I don't know. You might have to do another podcast where you talk actually about Boba Fett, because I'm sure if you name this, like seriously, it should be the Book of Boba Fett crossed out. Grogu steals the show.
Yeah.
So I would bet money that there will eventually be a season that they call the Book of Grogu, where they just rewind it and they show us the time intervening between whenever he was in the Jedi Council and when Din picks him up.
Right. But that would be fun to see.
Yeah. Like you always say with Disney, merchandising, where the real money from the movies made.
Well, and I think that'll be we'll be bringing that up again in our next show, which we're going to talk about Free Guy. So be sure to tune in for that. But that was another great opportunity for Disney to get in a little merchandising there towards the end.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll be talking about that, but yeah, and even the last episode, which I know Seth isn't on yet, but we see the climactic battle there, and of course, right at the end is where Grogu and Mando get reunited. Well, towards the end, I don't know, maybe 2/3 of the way through or something, they finally meet up again, and Grogu is kind of instrumental in helping turn the tide of the war there with his force abilities. So, and then of course at the end, do we see Boba Fett rebuilding the city and getting together with all the people and making truces and alliances and back in his palace? No, what do we see? We see Mando and Grogu out in space checking out the new super drive, the octane boost on his Naboo fighter.
Yeah, and that really just
cements
the Book of Grogu. Yeah, it's weird. It just takes this alternate path, and I don't know that any of it was necessary.
Right.
But I think you're right, Bill. Somebody said, you know what, we're not going to be able to we can't get any cash out of this series. We want that merchandising. Let's throw Grogu back in there somehow.
Right.
We'll completely make this about Mando again.
Right. And then that sets us up for the next season of Mandalorian, where Grogu and Mando are back together again, which is what Disney would want for the merchandising. So
yeah,
looks like we lost Jenna there. She's probably been attacked by the syndicate. Taking her planet over for spice. Looks like her computer just blue screen. So, but she'll be back for the next episode, I can assure you. So, well, I guess we can probably wrap it up here unless you guys have any final thoughts. Linda, we haven't really heard much from you. Did you want to say anything about Grogu and his choices there? Do you think he was too young to make that choice? What was your thoughts?
Thank you. I thought he was too young. I'm pretty much agreeing with you guys, because it's like, do you want to stay with the guy who's making you do stuff you don't really care to do, or do you want to go have fun with this guy?
Right.
So that wasn't a tough decision.
Right. Especially for a child of that age,
right,
in my opinion.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Seth?
I was going to say, didn't you have a question for us this week?
I did. 1 second.
The question of the week is.
Oh, that was related to the Vox Machina thing that we should talk about.
Oh, well, we can talk about that in the next show along with the free guy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess then for the listeners out there, let us know what you thought. Do you think Grogu was too young to make that choice? Should Luke have given him the choice, or just given him the damn mesh mesh vest and lightsaber and continued his training? Let us know what you think. Are we way off base
down
here?
below.
We missed. Yeah, comment down below.
Oh, I know how that should have gone.
Okay.
Luke should have given him both. Should have given him the lightsaber or should have given him the mesh. And then Grogu should have had a vision about the trouble that Mando was about to get in.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And then Grogu approaches Luke, and Luke's like, I've been here before. I know what's going to happen. So here, Grogu, take the lightsaber. Come back to me when you've saved your friend.
Yeah, that would have been a way better way to write that. I 100% agree. That would have been an excellent way to write that in and make that work.
It would have shown character growth for Luke.
And
we wouldn't have had anything to talk about for like the first half of this episode.
Well, it's a good thing they didn't do that.
And, I mean, it's almost exactly the same situation too. That would have been a huge callback.
It would have been.
Right. All right. Well, I think this is a good place to wrap it up. We'll let folks weigh in on our question of the week, and we can address those in a future episode. So thank you all for tuning in. If you haven't seen the rest of the Book of Boba Fett, recommend you watch it. Even with the change there at the end, it's still a pretty good finale, pretty exciting at the end, especially when the Rancor comes out and starts helping. So you'll definitely not want to miss that. So take care. We will catch you all on our next show. And again, we'll be talking about Free Guy and the end of Vox Machina. So take care. Have a good week. Bye-bye, everyone. Yes, and goodbye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Galactic Driftwood podcast. For more information and past episodes, please visit our website at galacticdriftwood.space or subscribe to us on YouTube. And now, please deactivate your cranial downlinks, collect your towels, and be sure to watch your step as you exit our gravity well.